Welcome to SORMAG's Writers Cafe, where we share the real writer's life over a cup of friendship, sprinkled with laughter and wisdom. My name is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I'm your host for today. This episode's sponsor is Using Canva for Book Promotion Video Series. Check the show notes for information. Sitting at the cafe today is Letrise Carter. Letrise, I'm so excited to have you here with me today. Please share with us what you write, a little bit about yourself, and your current book, please.
Absolutely. Well, LaShaunda, thank you for having me on the show. I am a published author. My current series is out titled the Lucy Mason series with Part 1, Lucy's Work, and Part 2, Lucy's Faith, is coming out in July. And then Lucy's Heart is coming out in August. A little bit about me. I am a recent breast cancer survivor. I have a podcast of my own titled Sisters Conversations with Letrise Carter. I am also the CEO and founder of Sisters Place, which houses a magazine as well as a media company where I help shine the spotlight on indie talent in film, theater, literature, and highlight those in the community who are having a positive impact and giving back. And so that's a little bit about me, about what I do. And my latest book is Lucy's Worth. That is out, that is available on Amazon, as well as a autographed copy can be purchased from my website, letrisecarter.com, LetriseCarter.com. And I'm going to read from the first chapter, just to give you an idea about the story. My name is Lucy Mason, and I'm 22 years old. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with my parents, Darlene and James Mason. I'm the youngest of 3 children, living on the north side of town. My 2 sisters, Carol and Mary Lou, are the pride of the neighborhood and school. My sisters are a year apart, with Carol being the oldest. My family is what you might call blue-collar workers, and they do okay to sustain a roof over their heads and put food on the table. Daddy works the assembly line at Brooks and Thomas, while Mama works in housekeeping at Houston's Hotel in downtown Milwaukee. I never looked at myself as pretty, beautiful, or special because my sisters were the ones getting the attention of all the boys in the neighborhood and high school. I was never book smart and could care less about grades. Carol and Mary Lou loved going to school, and they were book smart. They both tutored many of the basketball and football players. If you ask me, I think they did a little bit more than tutor the star players on the teams. But they were known in school to be the girls who fit in with the crowd. I often called them the mean girls of North Division High School because no one thought to mess with them or prank them. All the kids knew I was their little sister, so no one really didn't bother me unless they wanted to feel the wrath of my 2 big sisters. That is an excerpt from Lucy's Worth. You can also read a free chapter from Lucy's Faith on my website under the blog post, novel teaser.
Okay.
So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. I'm curious as what inspired the Lucy series.
Well, what actually, it started out a homework assignment. I took a master class with Walter Mosley, and he gave us an assignment to write a short story for 30 days. We get to write a story every day for 30 days. And, of course, I was coming off of finishing treatment and I was trying to find my way again, and that was a way to me getting my mojo back as far as writing was concerned. And that story literally came to me I used bits and pieces from my life and various other people that I've been passing to like that story, the way that story came alive to me. Because I sat there because, everything that I went through, going through cancer treatment, you doubt your worth because of the outcome, how you look, because of what happens, from the effects of chemotherapy and radiation. And then my faith was tested. So that's how Lucy's Faith, the titles came, Lucy's Worth, Lucy's Faith, and then Lucy's Heart. And my heart, was heavy, and the relationship going through these last 2 years were affected. So that's how each of those titles came about. And I wanted to write something where I could have a positive impact because, to say, every woman experiences her worth, kind of deciding whether or not she's worthy of a relationship or she's worthy of someone's love, and not looking at yourself as beautiful or pretty, having low self-esteem. Even though I didn't have low self-esteem, I felt ugly during chemo. And also, I decided to reach back into some past relationships where, I was never in an abusive relationship, but I did experience a high school boyfriend who slapped me. So I brought that into the story because I know that this does happen to young ladies. So I was a little bit all over the place, and I was trying to figure out, well, how do I incorporate this into a story? And so that's how the series came about, being able to bring all of these different variables into Lucy and having her go on this self-discovery journey of finding herself, discovering her worth, her value, and then for her to find a path to discover her, finding her faith, because she gets saved in book 2, and she has to learn how to forgive. So book 2 focuses on forgiveness and building her faith. And then book 3, the heart, she opens her heart to love, having to realize that not all men are dogs, not all men are like the one guy she had. Everything that she went through with the one guy, every man is not. You don't put him in that same category. So that's how this all came about, really.
Sounds like it's kind of very therapeutic for you.
It was, and it feels good. It's like I'm free, and I've given it to, I've given it to some of my nieces, because I'm like, it's new adult fiction, so I wanted to really like hit them, touch them, and get them to really think, because you meet a lot of young ladies, and they really don't value, they have a lower value of self-worth than what they should. So I really wanted to try to like touch them, to raise their standards, respect themselves and love themselves, and have that and raise their self-worth value, because you are a precious gem.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if social media plays a part of that on the low self-esteem, because you're constantly looking at people who are living the life or pretending to live the life, and if you're not living the life, I know growing up a lot of people were into the designer things, and I didn't buy the designer shoes, designer thing, and I'm like, wonder what my life would have been like if I was on social media now, because you're looking at this stuff and you're like, man, they're living such wonderful things. They're going traveling and they're doing this and you're doing that, and that can really, get on in your head when you're not doing that. They're doing that, and kids are just ruthless nowadays.
They are. Oh my God, it's like mean, beyond mean.
Yeah, and the social media really plays into it. Like I was having a conversation with someone, and I was saying the kids don't know how to talk to each other. You have them over your house, and all of them are sitting in the couch, are sitting in chairs and they're on their phones. They're not even talking to each other.
Yes.
Or they're sending texts to each other on the phones. And I'm like...
And you're right next to each other.
Right. And I'm like, come on, get off of that, you know. It's so hard, and it's so hard to have confidence nowadays because you are comparing yourself to all the stuff that's on, you know, in the magazines, on the TV, on the, you know, I know they want to have this long, luxurious hair, but they don't have long, luxurious hair, so they're spending $500 and $600 to get this hair, and I'm like, who are you impressing, yourself or the people that's looking at you? You know, and so you have to like yourself first before the people can like you. And I think a lot of people miss that part. They miss that. Do you even like yourself? You know, and I think you know, you're going through some stuff, and I admire you for you know, using how you felt to be a teaching tool for others, you know, because you could have waddled in there. You know, you don't feel pretty. You know, I went through when the first time I tried to go natural, I did not feel beautiful at all. I was at that time I was doing I was calling myself gonna lock my hair, and I felt like a mop. That's how I looked at it. When I would get up in the morning, some days were good days and some days wasn't. And I would say, "Ooh, I feel like a mop. I feel like my hair is a mop." So I wasn't, you know, and so I went back to what they call it, the creamy crack, because I was like, I didn't feel beautiful. And when you don't feel beautiful, that brings your whole spirit down, you know.
It does.
You're feeling like, ugh, you know. I told my husband one time, we went to get my hair done. I came back and I said, I feel sexy. He's like, you were sexy before you left. I was like, no, I'm not.
Right.
You know, and as you get older, you know, my daughter, we were talking about wearing spandex, and she's like, I can never see you wearing spandex, Mom, because you're a mom. You look like a mom. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Right.
But my daughter didn't see me as sexy, you know, and I was like, and I thought about it, and I said, well, she didn't see me as sexy because I don't see myself as sexy anymore, you know, and so and it's because I had in my head that I was a mom. I couldn't be sexy, you know. And I was like, who made that rule?
Right.
So I had to, in my 40s, that song came out, I'm Bringing Sexy Back. That became my theme because I was like, where is my sexy? I was sexy at one time.
That's right.
You know.
That's right.
And so
sexy and fabulous. That's what I say.
Right. And so when I feel sexy, I could, you know, I'm productive. You know? When you're feeling like a mop, you don't want to do anything but lay on the couch, you know. And so your attitude is so important, you know. And I think it's great that you're writing books that's going to hopefully improve other kids' attitudes, and they see themselves in this, and they like, well, you know what, I do rock. You know, and it's really hard for kids, you know. Like I used to tell my daughter, she loved getting her some hair, and I'm like, your hair is amazing, you know. She didn't want to work with it, so that was why she bought hair. But I was like, I never experienced that, so I didn't understand why you want to go get somebody else. I always wanted my hair to grow out to that. So
thank you. That's me. I always had long hair, and you know, and that was a battle, you know, these last 2 years. You know, my hair is nice and long, and I literally, you know, went through chemo twice. And as soon as I start growing my hair back, I had to get re-diagnosed, and I had to start all over. And, you know, it was just this merry-go-round of like, I got to get off this merry-go-round.
and you have to find that you're more than your hair. And that's hard because that's what we're taught, that you got to have beautiful hair. Your hair has got to look great. And going natural really showed me how I wasn't really invested in my hair, I thought. I went natural, and like I said, I felt like a mop instead of being sexy, you know. And then I finally was feeling great with my hair, and then it went gray and started going gray. And people won't let you be sexy when you're gray. They just got to come and tell you stuff. So I can imagine the conversations you had with when your hair, you're losing your hair, and then you got here this, girl, your hair is so short, or girl, your hair ain't came back yet, or people are such rude butts.
People, the thing that helped me get to really write the Lucy's words. One of the things, I was in Home Depot, and I was hot, and I was hot, and I took my hat off, and I had a bald head, and this man, he's black brother, looked at me in such a disgust.
Oh,
and it hurt my feelings, and I literally put my hat on, and I left everything that I had in my cart, and I just walked out the store, because that was just so, like, degrading, the way, the look that he gave. It's like the look of death, like, oh, my God, you too? And little did he not know was that why I was bald.
No, he didn't care about that. He just, how dare she walk around here with no hair, and I think that we're conditioned that you either got to have long, luxurious hair, or you got to have some hair regardless, and it's got to be black, it's got to be brown. When I started going gray, people would literally come and ask me, how come I'm not coloring my hair? Oh, what's it to you? That's how I realized that. It was like, wow. I had people who were saying, you only grandmas walk around with their hair gray. And they, at first I would explain why I decided to go gray, and then I realized my son the other day, he said, Mom, why don't you color your hair, Mom? And I said, well, I did color my hair, and it turned to green, then it turned to blue, and then sometimes it turned to orange. And I said, I was scared that it was going to stay orange, that I stopped. I said I have a choice of having orange hair, yellowish orange hair, or beautiful gray. And so I said, okay, I'm going to stick with the gray, and I'm going to go with the gray. And then every couple of years I raised up a level. I'm like, well, I'm at silver. Now I want to be platinum white. I raised it up. But one thing is, I was at an event. It was a breast cancer event, and the lady beside me was bald, beautiful. And it convicted me so much that I said, you have hair. It might not be black, but you have hair, and you're blessed. It could be off, and you be crying because you don't have hair. So I accept this hair that I have, God, and I'm going to live with it. And if anybody else got a problem with it, they can get the finger. I got some hair, and thank you. And you have to, and that's one of the things I learned is that I'm not gonna please everybody. I have to please myself, and I have to be happy with it. And I said I'm gonna embrace this gray. It might not be what you like. You don't have to go color your hair. If you can't embrace it, go color your hair. I said, but I chose to embrace it, so accept it. Horrible. And I just can't imagine as a teenager you dealing with these people trying to tell you what to do, how to feel, what to look like,
trying to live up to the society's norm.
Yeah, I had a look. I remember my son was in the we were in the preschool, and this lady was crying, and I went and sat beside. I said, what's going on? And she said, this little boy just told my son, why does he have on Spider-Man shoes? Now, this is preschool. We're not even in kindergarten yet.
Oh,
this
wow.
This little boy came to preschool every day with matching outfit and matching shoes. His mother was a Jordan, loved Jordan, and she bought him matching. Every outfit he had on, he had matching shoes with it. Well, this mother could only afford one pair of Spider-Man shoes, so that's what he wore. And so she was crying about that, and I told her, and she said, when did the kids start doing that? He's just preschool. I said, their parents teach them that mess. I said, because what difference does, he told the little boy, why do you always wear Spider-Man shoes? And the little boy loved his little Spider-Man shoes. He didn't have an issue with it. You got the issue with it. The little kid is privileged enough to have a different pair of shoes on every day. Are you picking on someone who can't afford to get a different pair of shoes every day? Yeah,
right.
Where is that?
It starts at home.
It starts at home because the mama had to say something to you because why are you worried about what shoes he has on? Well, you look good. You don't have on what you have on. No. So don't destroy another kid's image because you want your kid to look fantastic every day. So what?
Okay. But they're teaching their son the wrong thing.
Well, they're teaching that material. Child, and then what happens if you can't afford to do that? They don't understand. Children don't understand. They think you got that tree in the backyard and they want to know.
Yep, that you keep watering.
and see those $50 Jordans turn into $300 Jordans.
Yep.
We went to the store. I was like, "Ooh, baby!" My son was like,
"Put them down."
I'm like, "Yeah, men's shoes are really expensive. They last a little longer, but goodness gracious, you're spending $150 or more. And when you're teaching your child that he's supposed to have a pair to match all his clothes, he's gonna want that when he's in junior high, and he's gonna want that in high school. You just started something, so I hope you have the funds to afford that. And and then you making your kids stand out because they're gonna go and tease people who don't have what they have. They're not looking at them as being misfortune. They looking at them as I got better than you.
Yep. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And that's sad because this is how come we have some. We're talking about how many kids are killing themselves because they got to compete with these
suicide rate. Oh my God,
it's horrible. And it's like babies. It's just today is just a bad day. Tomorrow will be better, but so many children are depressed because they don't have. I don't have what they have. They got the better life, and they're going on vacation.
My hair don't look like hers.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my! It's so sad, and I'm just like, ugh, what? I don't even know how do you change that when you, like I said, it's starting at home. They're not learning it at school. It's at home. Yeah. The mean spirit is at home.
Yep.
And they bring it to the school.
Yep.
Yep. That's horrible. It's hard.
It is. It is. I hate reading about the babies reading that these little kids who hung themselves or took a whole bottle of pills, and I'm like, oh my God, because they're being bullied at school because somebody called them ugly. And it's just, oh my goodness, yeah.
Well, you used to have to worry about people putting their hands on your child for bullying. Now it's the cyberbullying.
It's worse.
It's worse. I was listening to I like the Red Table show with Jada Pinkett, but her daughter was the host the other day, and they were talking to Michael Jackson's daughter, Paris. And Paris said that she started getting cyberbullied when she was 11 years old. They were saying stuff about her. You don't look like Michael Jackson. You ain't his child.
Oh, that's
why?
So mean.
She said she could not understand why people were so mean to her when she didn't know them. She didn't do anything. They harassed her anytime she went out in public. It was the paparazzi chasing her, harassing her, trying to take pictures of her, that she was cutting herself. She thought about dying a couple of times. She tried to kill herself a couple of times until she got to the point where she said, well, it's not working, so I might as well stop. This is not my time.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, my God. This is a celebrity's child. She's not even a celebrity. This is somebody's child. And I'm thinking, oh, my goodness. I felt so bad for her because I'm like, and then she don't even have her daddy to go to talk to about that.
Right.
Right? And she's, she's going through all kind of crazy thoughts and thinking, and then you're living with your grandmother who's a Jehovah's Witness and who has different faith than you have. And I was like, who did that child have to run to? Who?
Right.
And then I wonder about these other kids. Who do they go to? If they don't go to their parents and a kid kills themselves, they don't have anybody else to talk to. They feel that way. Not that they don't, but they feel that way, that they have nobody who will understand how they feel. And that just breaks my heart because I'm like, it will be better the next day, if you wake up. If you wake up and see that it'll be okay. So I'm very happy to hear about your books, and I pray that they touch people who really need them and and people enjoy the stories, learn a lot from them. Now let's talk about some positive stuff.
Yes.
But I want to know about your magazine. What made you create your magazine?
Well, the magazine, I always wanted to do a magazine. You know, my Sister's Place started out as an online blog, and I kept telling myself, one day I'm going to get there. One day I'm going to step out on faith, and I'm going to create this magazine. And one of my friends, really good friend, she's also a mentor, she said, you know what, if you keep sitting around wishing, you'll never do it. So why don't you just do the research, follow a couple, those who are already doing it, and then you do it. But do it your way. So 2 years ago, it's actually 3 years ago, I decided, okay, I've been doing this blog, now since started in 2014. Why don't I just take and just do a high level, have a cover feature and feature a couple people, and then find some people to advertise in the magazine, and just go from there. And it started, I started small, and it's still growing. It's to the point where I actually have a team, because I realized, okay, you can't do this by yourself. Magazine is not one person. It has to be, a team. So I took her advice. She came on board, and we've been running ever since. And every year I try to revamp it in aspect of just making it better, learning from the mistakes. Like we first started, I was doing my coverage because I was like, oh, I can do this in publisher. No. And I finally, second time around, hired a professional guy to do my actual cover and layout. As you see over the course of the years, you see the growth through the cover designs, and then as you open the interior, just bringing what we do online to life in a quarterly magazine that's digital and print. So that's how that came about. I just stepped out on faith and decided, okay, I've watched 3 of my favorite magazines that are indie, black owned. I was like, okay, and then I freelanced. Now that was the other thing that helped me. I freelanced right for the 3 magazines that I was following and watching and learning from, trying to make sure I'm learning the business. And I still engage and communicate with those 3 magazines that I've written for over the last 6 years.
I love that. I love that story. That's so cool. Because a lot of people don't do the research. They just I can do it. Right. And then they're like, oh my goodness, I love that you said you needed a team. That was I learned that one the hard way. But yeah, I love that that you did that, and you got help. Man, it took me a minute to learn that I needed help.
Yeah,
I do everything yourself.
Yeah, you can. Yep.
You don't have to do everything.
I was the editor, the designer.
I look at stuff now and I go, man, I come a long way. But you learn from your mistakes, and I'm glad to hear that you said that you try to improve each time. And that's the thing about of the magazine is improving and listening to your readership and learning from your readership and knowing when it's the time to stop or when it's time to keep going forward. And so that's really good. I love that. And you took the time to do an internship, so I like that too. That was good too. You gave some good advice on before you create your own magazine. Everything you said, I kudos to. I say, yep, that's what
Thank you. Yeah, because you have to learn how it. You have to learn the process. And so being able to write as being a freelance writer for those magazines, I was thrilled. When the editor kept sending it back, she goes, nope, this don't sound right. Change this, change this. I'm like, this is my article. It's not your article if it's going in my magazine.
Exactly. Oh, my goodness. I remember the first article I ever did like that. They ripped it to parts. I was like, ooh, it don't sound like me. But then I start, you know, I'm looking at it, I was like, okay, all right. But that's the thing, that you want to know how to do that, because once people start submitting to you, then you want to make sure that that stuff is right, and you be like, nah, nope. Then you become.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But you have to know how to do that, you know, and so.
Yeah, and you have to know how to say no. You have to know how to say no, because everybody can't write for your magazine, and that was one of the things. And I'm glad I have the team that I have, because these ladies aren't afraid to say no. I had my senior editor email me back an article that this lady, someone submitted, and she said, we're not putting this in the magazine. She is on a rant, and it's so many grammar. She said it's so many grammar errors, and the sentences. She said this will take me. She said I've been trying to fix this, and it's too much. And I just told her, I said, well, you know the rules. If it doesn't fit our vision and what I stand for and my mission, then it's not to go in the magazine. Because I don't do gossip. I don't do slander. And this magazine is not the place for you to rant about your ex or a group of women who pissed you off. This ain't it. Put it on your blog.
They have the guidelines, you know, because that's what you could go back to. I know I used to feature a romance short story in there, so that was the only thing that didn't have to be multicultural. It just had to be a romance. And man, I got some guy send me a story about him and his friend fishing. I'm like, dude, did you? I'm like, no. Well, why are you saying no? And where's the romance at? That's the only thing in the story. Got to be a short romance. You and your friends fishing. I just thought I heard that you did short stories. I said yes, short stories that are romance, not short stories. And I used to get a bunch. They would be great stories, but no romance at all. It was like I can't publish that. I'm sorry. And then, you know, once you tell somebody that you're going to pay for, you know, even if it's, I just was paying $25. They wanted that $25. They wouldn't go, you know.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Give me that. I want to be in your magazine. I want to do it, you know. I had somebody that wanted to be on the cover of the magazine. And I realized that she wanted to be on the cover, but her book didn't. I had two people that were on there that didn't release a book. And I said,
wow.
I got that. They got me because they were supposed to release a book, but the book didn't come out. And so I said, okay, to be on the cover going forward, you got to have a book in hand. And you know I'm going to be releasing a book later, because both people, they had issues with their, you know, with the book, and so they released it the next year. And I was like, nope. So now,
and you know what? Having to say no to certain people who wanted to be on the cover, that was one of our things too, because we, you know, like I said, I learned some valuable lessons. You know, the first year I was putting this person, that person on the cover, and didn't realize, like, you know what? I need to get some people who are, if I want people to advertise in my magazine, I got to be able to tell them, well, who's on the cover? Well, I have so-and-so on the cover. You know, we're going to borrow their audience. They're going to promote it across their, you know, with their audience. They have a nice following, and they're doing something positive. Not putting somebody that nobody doesn't know. Because nobody, you know, they're like, well, who is this?
And you know why the big magazines do that, because they be trying to get that art. Somebody said the other day, I was listening to it, and they said, you know, the whole thing about promotion is they need you. You don't need them. And I was like, ooh, that's deep. He said, even if you're on a magazine, that magazine needs you to get in front of your people, because your people are their audience. And I was like, oh, wow, that is so true. Cause and, you know, people used to be hounding me trying to get on. And I was like, well, you're not even multicultural. My magazine was for multicultural authors and readers. But you know, if you had a multicultural, if you had multicultural books, you were writing multicultural books, and you know, it was a different thing. But If your whole book was white characters and no.
Right.
I'm sorry. You have to go to RWA or to Romance Writers thing or somebody else. But if I know you, I can't put you in a book.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have family members like, well, we want to be on the cover. No. That's not what this is. You have to draw the line.
I didn't do a whole page cover, but I put myself on there. But I was doing an issue about book promotion, so that was the difference.
Well, I did last year. I put myself on my cover last year for Breast Cancer Month. That was, and that strategy, I was like, you know what, this is going to work because I'm partnering with some other breast cancer organizations and I'm like, I'm going to be on that cover again for breast. I said every year in October, that's my issue.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. That's a great idea. That's your anniversary issue for you. So I would definitely do that. It makes a lot of sense that way, But it's hard. It's hard to be in charge and then having to say no. I say no to the podcast stuff a lot too because, I'm just talking today about, if you're going to be on something, you want to borrow that audience, and you want to borrow the audience because they are who you want to get in front of. You don't want to be on somebody's podcast just to be on a podcast because they have, I see people, I just want to be on a podcast, but why? Why do you want to be on that podcast? Because you got to have a reason why you want to be on there. Are you going to be sharing information? I've been on a couple podcasts that had nothing to do with, my book per se. It was more about they want to learn more about promotion or learn about writing. I was on a podcast and I talked about relationships, and I talk about relationships, but I was like, she said, you've been married 20-some years. Come on over here. I want to talk to you about being married 20-some years. And I was like, what?
That's right.
But it was about relationships. She said, it's still relationships, LaShaunda. And I was like, yeah. Because I was like, what can we talk about? She was a therapist, and I was like, what are we going to talk about? But she made me see that, you gotta fit into that niche. How are you fitting into that niche? You can't just go on because, you go on a podcast and they're talking about cars. Well, you be able to talk about cars.
Right.
Or you like, well, I got a book, I'm just going to be on everybody's podcast. No.
You can't, You
got to be able to put your theme into that. How are you fitting into cars? Do you talk about cars in your book? Do you feature different cars? You got fancy cars? Do you drive a fancy car? Why are you on this podcast? And I always tell people, go listen to the podcast. Give it a listen.
Yes. Oh my God, I've listened to a few that my assistant put together a list, and I literally emailed her back. Take that off. Take that off. Take that off. And that's a no-no. That's a big no-no. I said, she said, well, how about in the future? Take it off the list.
And that's because you listen. I had a client that wanted me to book him on some podcasts, and I ended up having to give him his money back because the topic. Most of the podcasts that I found was catered to women. They didn't really do a lot of men podcasts, and he was doing literary stuff. He had specifics that he wanted to talk about, and so we were looking for podcasts that way. And he's like, if you can find me 20 podcasts, that'd be good. And then he came back and he said he went with somebody. He was working with somebody else that was going to do the blogs instead of the. He said, you know what, I'm just going to do the blogs. I'm not going to do the podcast. And I was like, that's fine. I told him, I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, that was a hard search. I said, because of the topics that you wanted to talk about. He didn't want to talk more about his book. He had different topics that he wanted to talk about. And so I was saying, it was for me because I was able to see that most of the podcast directories that were out there were very outdated. Most of that stuff, people had a podcast in 4 or 5 years. I was like, wow, they did it.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
And so I was like, wow, nobody has a podcast listening. And I'm like, no, LaShaunda, you're not going to start that.
you know what? No, I've been like low key keeping one, but like building one because I'm like, this is gonna be. I want to, have a particular podcast list that I can like use with my clients, but also be my go-to tool when I'm planning my book promotions and my book tour, as well as and I'm like, okay, because you like you said. I've reached out to some people there. I'm like, you need to come off this list. You don't have a podcast. She said, I don't have a podcast anymore. And she gave reasons. Yeah.
I was thinking
you need to update the list.
Create a list, but then I went back and all the people that I had did podcasts with didn't even exist anymore. And I was like, well, that was just last year.
Yeah.
COVID took a lot of people out. They were like, no, I'm doing that no more.
They're doing, because they became caregivers or they lost some loved ones.
So they was like, the one guy, I did like 3 things with him, and he said that he wasn't doing his podcast anymore. He didn't get the numbers that he wanted, so he wasn't doing it anymore. And then this one lady, her podcast had been dormant for like 2 years. And I was like, man, I was saying you could have a list, you could do a directory, but if you don't update it, you're just gonna be, defeat the whole purpose of it. And so that's why I was like, no, I ain't getting into the directory thing.
I know, right?
You got a list of podcasts. I said, not really. I said because every time you go back to it, that person ain't not doing it anymore. So you don't know that until you go looking for it, and you're like, oh, no. So it was really hard.
Yeah, but you know what I try to do? I try to follow all the podcasts. I try to follow them. I follow the ones that are active. I try to follow their podcast on whichever platform they are on, and I get the notifications. So that way, that's how I also keep my list updated. I'm like,
that's
okay.
A good tip. I'm gonna have to do that too. What I've been trying to do is listen to 2 or 3 podcasts a week and listen to different things. And I was like, I want to do some more podcasts, but I was like, I got to listen to some of them and see who I want to go on and, and get in front. It's all about the audience. I've had people that contact me and they like, I would like you to be on my podcast, but I'm like, your audience is not my audience. So,
right.
I just found, back in the day, you'd be like, yeah, girl, yeah. But I'm like, that's an hour time. I could be doing something else. Ain't nobody going to listen to it because they like, who is LaShaunda? They like,
right.
No.
Yeah.
So you got to be real careful and be selective. I was telling a young lady today, I said, you have to be selective. You thinking you can say yes to everything, and you can't because you got to.
No, you can't.
You're trying to build your readership, and you're going all this thing. Well, they said they do 5,000 downloads every episode. Yeah, but who are their listeners?
Right.
Do they read books? Because some people just listen to podcasts. And so you're like, I know a bunch of people that listen to podcasts, but they don't listen to my podcast. Because they're not interested in listen to writers or hearing about books. And so that's what you have to look at is, well, who's listening to this? Are they going to hit the buy button? Are they going to join my email list? And a lot of people don't think about that. They just do, this one lady told me she did 100 podcasts last year. Like, wow.
Oh, my God.
And she's like, yeah, you want to know how I did it? I'm like,
okay.
Say yes to everything, and you can do that. But here's one question I really wanted to ask her, but we was on somebody else's page, so I couldn't. But I said I wanted to know, how many books did you sell from that?
Yeah. That's the
question. Yeah, how many books did you sell from that? Or did you get any? Sometimes people say, well, I was on your podcast and I didn't sell any books. Well, the podcast is about introducing you to people. Maybe later on when they learn a little bit more about you, they'll buy the book. Most people don't buy a book immediately when they hear it on the podcast. They're listening, unless they've heard about it a couple of times, then they'll go buy. And then you might get a few people that are like, yes, oh my goodness, Lucy sounds like something I need to read right now. Let me go get it. And then they do, and that's great. But a lot of people think that, I'm going to get a whole bunch of hits because I'm on somebody's podcast. But most of the time, them people listen to the podcast and move on about their business for the day.
Yes, they sure do.
And I'll be like,
unless you strike a nerve with them, and they go, "Ooh, what was her website again? Let me go to her website."
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh wow, I listened to it was a really good podcast. It was the Low Country. Low Country. It was a limited podcast, but they had a show called Low Country.
Yes, yes. Oh my God, we watched it religiously on Sunday.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of the movie, but
Love Country. Yes, it's Love Country.
Love Country. Okay, so the show was fantastic, and I was flipping through podcasts on iTunes, and they had a podcast that accompanied the show. So they would come back, and the writers of this show would come and talk about this show every week. And I mean, it was amazing because they went deep into the story. The story was already deep, so they took it even deeper. And I love that's one of my favorite things about movies, and when you can do the director cut and you go in there and they tell you what they thought and what they was doing. And so that's how that was. And they would go deep, and then they would share different books. So of course I'm writing down all the stuff they talking about. That podcast, yes, I was buying books from them.
Okay.
Because it was a really good podcast. If you really love the show, I think the podcast is still up. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna miss the podcast. But the podcast,
I hope they renew the show. Sure.
I want them to renew the show too. The podcast was so good because these were young ladies, and they were just they're fantastic writers, I could say that. But they took us behind what happened, who the monsters were, and when the lady went Hippolyta went out, and they explained what happened that we didn't see and stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness, because they were like saying that people were mad that she had left, and then they were explaining why she left, and I was like, okay.
Good.
Yeah, it was a really good podcast, and they had books and music. That they play a lot of music in that show, so they were telling you the songs and different things like that. But you can get that sometimes with podcasts where you get really deep into it, and you're like, let me get the person's name again. And sometimes I'll be like, say their name again,
Right.
So I can write it down. What was that writer's name again? Who was she? What was the books again? And so that's one of the things that I love about podcasts. A lot of people are not into podcasts, but I'm an audio person, so I guess that's probably why I like it. But it's interesting. We didn't talk about your podcast. Tell us the name of your podcast before we get out of here.
Our podcast, my podcast is called Sisters Conversations with Letrise Carter.
Okay. Yeah, I had the pleasure of being on there. We had fun time.
Yes.
Yep. And so, what else I was going to ask you? I haven't asked you one question. I love when it goes like that. I don't have to ask a question. Yay. So my question for you is, what has surprised you most about being a published author?
What surprised me is how how I started writing in a different genre. I'm not glued to just one genre. And I know I always say that word wrong.
Uh-oh, did we lose you?
Oh, am I there?
Yeah, you stopped talking.
oh my goodness. Sorry about that.
You said you're not glued to one genre, and then you went quiet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just heard a recording or something. I'm not glued to one genre. That was surprising, because when I first started out writing, I just was so focused that I'm going to be a romance thriller. That's it. But that is not what I am. So I am, looking forward to writing in all genres, because Lucy Mason is, the Lucy Mason short stories is new adult fiction, is women fiction, and it's not in that romance thriller. So I geeked about it. That surprised me, that I actually wrote by accident in a whole nother genre.
So did you write romance thrillers, or? Did you ever write them?
Oh, Deceitful Secrets, my very first book published in 2017, is a romance thriller.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how I was too. I wrote romance for years and years. I didn't get published in it, and then my first book was a nonfiction book. And then I started taking more classes and realized that I wasn't writing romance per se. I was writing women's fiction. So I'm like, okay, I'm writing women's fiction. And then I've gone completely from women's fiction to middle grade books. So I feel you on being on different genres because I'm like, okay, I'm writing different things. And then, a couple of, last year, I wrote, this dragon had been waking me up for a while, and so finally I sat down and wrote his story. So I'm like, okay, I'm just like all kind of crazy. Now I'm in fantasy stuff, so okay. So I always say just write what comes to you. You can't say that I'm just gonna write this because something else might come. Because if somebody told me that my first book would be nonfiction, I've been like, me write nonfiction? So no, I'm a romance girl. No.
Okay.
So I understand, and sometimes that's just how it works, How it works. I have one more question for you, then we're gonna get on up out of here. What is it? Oh, what's this one? What are 3 things you wish you'd known before you reached where you are now?
Oh my goodness. That's a good question. 3 things I wish I known. How to run Facebook ads, how to run Amazon ads, how to understand and run Amazon ads, and how to pick my art group. Those 3.
That's good. I still haven't figured out Facebook ads. I gotta take some more classes. Amazon ads, I understood it, but I didn't have enough books to work it. So I'll come back to. I'll revisit that once I publish some more books. Because you gotta have either a series or you gotta have 5 or 6 books that you're selling. So because one book really can't say what the results are from it. So they'll buy the book, but they don't have anything else to buy. So Amazon ads work really well when you have a series of books.
Yeah.
And Facebook ads, I have not figured that one out yet. So if you know the secret, let me know.
I'm still trying to figure it out. When I told myself I'm not spending no more money on Facebook ads until I understand.
Yeah, I definitely recommend
utilize that.
And because you put in a lot of money into it, but supposedly if you're doing it right, you're gonna reap more from it. And so I've never had that happen yet, so I know I'm not doing it right.
Me too. I'm like, okay, but I reached these many thousands of people, but I only have 4 clicks. What that don't add up. I reached 29,000 people, but I got 4 clicks. That's not right.
I need them 29,000 people. Where they at?
Yeah, so I said, I looked at the analytics on that. I was like, okay, something is wrong with this picture.
Right.
This ain't right.
It ain't right.
4 clicks out of a 29,000 reach. I was like, no.
Yeah, something's wrong. Y'all playing me. Give me my money back.
I did. I almost did. I almost asked him. I was like, somewhere right with this ad. I need my money back. Because 4 clicks?
Yeah, and that's the thing about them. It's I don't understand how people can see it, but nobody's clicking. That don't make no sense to me. So,
Yeah. 4 clicks out of 29,000 people? I'm talking about, congratulations, you've reached 20. Show me, I need 29,000 clicks. At least give me 10,000 clicks.
Yeah.
They clicked and went to the website. They, come on.
Yeah. I never understand that at all. And then, then you see the ones that people have thousands and thousands of people have looked at it, and I'm like, I wonder if they making any money.
Yeah, I'm going to start emailing people. I'm going to start inboxing. So how you doing your sale?
How is that? Well, I follow a marketing lady, and she was saying when she published her book, she spent $15,000 on ads.
Ooh,
They sold, I think, 25,000 copies of the book.
Oh, okay.
15,000. But she and she had different levels to her promotion though. She sold books, she sold a mystery box, she sold time with her. So she had like different things, and so she made a lot of money off of it, but she paid a lot of money to get to that point. So it's like
her net. Yeah. So she sold 25,000 copies. So you got to net that against what she paid.
Right.
Net profit.
Get a bunch of advertising. You like 14,000. I'm like, I don't even want to spend $25.
Okay. I feel like the $200 that I spent, I want back.
Right. She was like, you got to be willing to invest in that, spend $100 a day. And I'm like, But one of the things I've learned about when it comes to promotion is the mindset. You got to have that mindset that what did the guy say today? That it's investing in your product. It's not that you're getting that money back. It's an investment. You like you play the lottery. You might win or you might not. And so if you look at it like that, then you don't worry about that money's not coming back to you. You're worrying about how many new leads did you get? That's what your advertisement is about. How many new leads did you get? Now, if you ain't get any leads at all, then so you got 4 clicks. And it might not say you, so you had to pay how much? $200 to get 4 clicks. So you divide that by 4. But that's a lot.
Yeah.
But $50 a click. So, but that's how you have to look at it. And so I was like, okay, when you look at it like that, it makes a big difference. And a lot of people miss that because we're like, I spent $5,000. I ain't getting nothing out of the $5,000 because you're thinking about the sale versus the lead. So how many people did you get in front of to do that? And so it might seem like a bust to you, but you got 4 clicks. Now, if those 4 clicks went and spent some money, then that's great. But if they didn't, then you're like, well, that was just, then it's a bust.
I was just like, wow.
And that's how with the advertising it's so hard because you have to have a way to get those results, and that's why it's like the leads. A lot of people miss that last part of promotion is what happens after you promote it. Did anybody buy books? Did anybody sign up for your email list? Did anybody follow you? Did you get any comments? Did you get any likes? What happened after that? And most people don't pay attention to that. All they see is that they pay attention to the book sale, that they didn't get any book sale. I always tell my clients, did somebody sign up for your email list? Look at your email list. Did it grow? Oh, yeah. Did your followers, social media followers grow? Because sometimes you'll get 20 people, and you'll be like, where did 20 people come from? I ain't even been nowhere. And like, I seen your ad. Somebody told me the other day they saw an ad that I did, and they bought the book. They posted it on the thing. I bought this book, LaShaunda. I will enjoy it. That was good for me. Somebody saw the ad, and they made a choice of what they wanted to do, and we kind of missed that because all we focused on is that money we didn't spend. I didn't spend $200. I ain't getting it.
Yeah, like
and you mad, instead of looking at the results of that $200. Well, what happened after that? Did you get people to come to the thing? Because sometimes I used to do it for the festival, and then I was like, and then I started looking at the people that were there versus the people that I knew. And I was like, I don't know none of these people. So where they come from? Like, they wasn't on my unless beforehand, somebody's like, well, I do the thing. Most of the people come back, but when I get 50 people that weren't there last year, that's a good thing. That means that my ad did work, because how did they know about the program unless they saw the ad?
True. Very true.
They're not on my list, so. All right, Miss Letrise, I have enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you so much for being here. Can you tell our listeners how they can get in contact with you online?
Yes, you can find me on all social media. I am on Instagram as Letrise C, Letrisec, and I am on Twitter as author Letrise, Letrise. I am on Facebook. I have an author Facebook page that is author Letrise Carter, and you can always go to my website, LetriseCarter.com, LetriseCarter, all one word, and all of my blogs and books are there. Feel free to sign up for my newsletter. That's at the very top of my website, and that is at the very end of every blog.
All right. Well, I hope what Letrise shared today was helpful for you. I want to thank our sponsor, using Canva for book promotion video series. Check the show notes for the link to purchase. Have you wanted to try Canva.com but didn't know where to start? LaShaunda Hoffman created a series for you. Inside this series, you will learn the basics of Canva, how to create a biographic, a quote graphic, a blurb graphic, an animated graphic, and bookmarks. These are graphics you can use to promote you and your books. The videos will take you step by step to help you create your own you can use daily. Check the show notes for the link to using Canva for book promotion video series and start creating graphics like a social butterfly. I want to thank you, our listeners, for taking time to listen to the podcast. I have my 3 questions for you. Did you learn something from this episode? If you did, please share the podcast with your community. Would you like to be a guest for an episode? Contact me at onesormag@gmail.com. And one last question. Have you promoted your book or business today? If you haven't, go showcase those wings. Someone needs what you have to offer. This is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I will see you on the next.